Thanks for the support as a channel member, Sam. FA Cup 5th round day, boys and girls, and we're away from home against a team below us in the league. So I feel like there might be, there's a chance there could be an FA Cup quarter final in our future. Hello and welcome to part 88 of Bourne Again. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have that FA Cup 5th round tie away against Forest, and then we're at home in the Bourne Derby, at home against Bournemouth in the Championship. Since you were last with me, our new signings have led to some absolutely sensational form. Ricky Scott hasn't ever scored again since the 4 goals that he got in the last episode, to the point where we're not actually playing him up front anymore. He's kind of playing out on the wing and drifting in and out of the team. We're doing a lot of rotation and trying to figure out what the best team is. The important thing is, while that's going on, we're still winning football matches. Even Durkin and Pavlov are scoring goals, for goodness sake. It's a wonderful time to be alive. This is what the Championship looks like. There is still the most outside of outside chances that we could sneak up into the playoffs with, 10 games to go. We're 8 points behind Sheffield Wednesday. It doesn't seem likely, but it's not yet impossible. So we're going to keep pushing at that. But first, we want to see how far we can go in this FA Cup. And of course, the FA Cup does mean a couple of our Forest loanees are unavailable, but it also means we can play more of the rest of them. So no Gamady and no Town Row, because they're both on loan from Forest, but we can do our entire midfield, attack and one of our defenders as loan players. I'm not proud of this, but you know what? We might win, so I'll be proud then. So we're going with Mr. FA Cup, Alan Hardy in goal. A back four of Barnes, of course, formerly of Forest. He spent 3 years on loan with us from Forest before signing permanently. So Barnes at left back, Danks and Ansong at the back, Arnautovic and Butler in midfield, Duran, Robinson and Scott behind Durkin up front. We've got interest in Ansong, which is mad, because he's barely played it. Look, he's going to be this summer's Arnautovic. Norwich, Swansea, Tottenham, all in for him. His asking price at the moment was, I set it at 2.5 million to try and discourage that, and immediately got the inbox thing through saying that asking price is too low, put it up to 8 million. Imagine getting £8 million for a player who's barely played. There's a reason he's in the team today. I think we should have sold Lastra for £1 million when we got the offer in the January window, because I think Maxwell Ansong needs game time, and he's going to get some today. Let's see how he gets on. Put himself in the shop window. Hopefully Tottenham are here, getting ready to write us an £8 million cheque for him. That would be absurd if that happened, especially because we could just do what we've done with Arnautovic and bring him back on loan again. And then eventually bring him back afterwards, which is my main transfer policy. Loan players for years, then sign them on frees. Sign young players and then sell them to clubs, loan them back for years and then sign them on frees. You saw it with home last year. You're starting to see it here with Bourne this time around as well, because you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to loan Arnautovic back as many times as we can before Leicester get fed up of it and let him come back to us permanently. Robinson with an in-swinging free kick, and there is Ricky Scott. I said he'd not scored again since the last episode. He's like the reverse Pavlov. Pavlov always plays well unless you're watching. Ricky Scott only plays well when you're watching. So I'm thinking I need to play Pavlov in the games in between the episodes, Scott in the episodes, and then everyone's going to be happy. I don't know why we need to see quite so many replays of this. He's comfortably onside. There's about 8 players ahead of him between the two sides there when he heads that in. But it does mean we're 1-0 up with just like 5 or 6 minutes on the clock. And we're an FA Cup specialist. We're a cup team. We like cups. Is that our Fitzpatrick from last year playing? I guess it's not. I think we had this when we faced them in the league. It's a different Fitzpatrick. If it is our one from last year, we don't need to worry because we know there's no goal threat from him. Scott with an incredible ball forward. My word, I thought that was just an aimless lump forward, but it was a perfect pass into the path of Durkin, who really should have done a little bit better with it. Hardy now from the goal kick finds Danks and then Kjalic. And a flick on for Scott to chase. It was Durkin with the flick, plays it all the way back to Durand, who skips past his man. He's barely had any football since arriving, so we can't really fit him into the team, but getting an opportunity to have a look at him today. Ansong on the overlap, the £8 million man, maybe. Cross to Scott, and Ricky Scott has scored again. What is this? He's been rubbish between the 2 episodes. I genuinely don't understand how the mess we get ourselves into with players being camera shy or show-offs. Why can't we just have some normal players who play well most of the time? Why is that not a thing that I'm allowed to? And I know the answer to that question. It's because we're born in the Championship. So anyone who plays well most of the time, who's good enough to get in our team ever, is going to be playing in the Premier League. The only players who have natural match-winning talent that come to us are the ones who can't do it very often. They're inconsistent or injury-prone. That's why they sign for Bourne rather than Tottenham, as we saw as an example before. So I do get it to a point. But goodness me, is it mad? Right, no complacency. You know the rules, gentlemen. No complacency. Let's just keep ourselves nicely composed and try not to mess things up in this second half. As mentioned in the intro, we are above Forest in the league after the little run that we've been on, and presumably they've been on quite a poor run, because I think they were up challenging for the playoffs at one point earlier in the season. My word, that's a good goal. Mr. FA Cup, Alan Hardy, I mean, he looks upset. There's nothing he could have done about this. I think it's completely wrong-footed him. It's been hit so hard. Let's have a look at it from the other angle. But it looked unstoppable the way this was hit. And, well, Hardy's a little bit slow to react. It's almost straight at him. But I'm not going to blame him because it's an FA Cup game, and we'd have played half the amount of FA Cup games in the last 3 years that we have played if it wasn't for Alan Harding. He's made the club millions in cup revenues over the last few years. Durkin is in here and forces the save out of the Forest keeper, and now we've got a corner. I've just noticed we've only brought 94 away fans to Forest. Forest are our nearest, one of our nearest rivals geographically. We're like 45 minutes away from Abbey Lawn to the City Ground, and only 94 people have bothered to make the journey. Danks to Kjalich. I would suspect Forest will be the ground that we end up sharing with if we go up to the Premier League, or when we go up to the Premier League. Scott, beautiful pass again in for Durkin, surely this time, and Brian Durkin does score, and Ricky Scott is having a very good game. He's scored 2 goals for himself, 2 phenomenal passes for Durkin. This one was even better than the first one because it's perfectly weighted, perfect angle. I mean, that's just a phenomenal through ball. And Durkin uses his pace and power to get there ahead of his marker, slot it under the goalkeeper. And all these new attackers are even making Durkin look good. He's closing in on double figures, which you lot will think looks good, even though Pavlov got more than that last year. But I can't win with Pavlov, apparently. Right, what are we going to do? We are going to move Scott onto the left. We're going to stick Duran's one coming off. So we're going to do this. He's going to play like that. Duran's the one I want to take off because I want to bring Pavlov on. And then we're also going to take off, you know what, we're going to take off Barnes. Because he's on a yellow card against a former club. He could get too overexcited. And Lastra, if Ansong's going to force his way into the team at right back, it was only the last episode I was talking about needing a decent quality left back. We've got a player we've turned down £1 million for a few weeks ago. Maybe Lastra is our left back. I mean, yes, he's right-footed, but he can play on the left-hand side of midfield. So maybe for the future, Lastra at left back, Ansong at right back is what our defence ends up looking like, and we had the extra defender here all along. Right, Hernandez comes on, which means a shuffle back round to how our midfield used to look before the return of Arnautovic, who fits best into a centre midfield defend instructions. That's what he's been doing. Right, Forest with the free kick. It's bobbling around in the penalty area, and Hardy's beaten again, and I'm going to be very sad if this ends up not going our way. It's 3-2 with 8 minutes left. I don't want to see the replay because I don't want to believe that Alan Hardy's having a poor game in the FA Cup, because in my mind, such a thing is not possible. But Kjalich has dilly-dallied on the ball there, and there's the equaliser for Forest, and this is hideous. This is all going wrong now. Right, demand more. I'm not happy with how this game has turned on its head. Everyone's anxious, and now Forest have a free kick. What on earth have I done? Maybe Lastra isn't a left back. Butler plays it forward to Robinson, who lumps it forward for Goran Pavlov. I always knew he was the man. You didn't believe me. Goran Pavlov in the 85th minute of the 5th round of the FA Cup, away from home. All the pressure in the world is on Pavlov there. And finally, he steps up on the big stage in a big game to score a 1-on-1. You've got to believe in Pavlov now, boys and girls. Scott's had to go off. Oh, I don't think my skin's ever been this red. I'm so excited about what I've just witnessed. Oh, calm down, Kev. You'll have a stroke. Goodness me. I don't think I've ever wanted a man to score a goal as much as I wanted Pavlov to score that goal. And we are through to the next round of the FA Cup. And it's all thanks to Mr. Goran Pavlov. It's not all thanks to him, but goodness me, did he have balls of steel at the end to be able to tuck that chance away when we've seen him miss so very many one-on-ones over the years. Scott's going to be out for a while now. That's a shame because, I guess we'll just leave it 3 to 6 weeks before the next episode. But for now, we're going to go and see the quarter-final draw of the FA Cup. 2 years in a row, we've made it the quarter-final of the FA Cup. The money's so important to keeping us in the black, and we are still there at the moment, still in the black as we approach the end of the season. This has all got to be a good thing. Let's see who we get in the next round. Here we go then, quarter-final draw time. Teams still left in the competition. Arsenal, who we faced at this stage last year, and they went on to win the tournament. So we'd like to avoid them, please. Brentford, Leicester, either Millwall or Fulham. Burnley, Man City, and then either Watford or Swansea. There's definitely some winnable games in there, and there's also some clubs who are going to batter us in there. And as we learned from last year that we don't get a revenue share in the quarterfinal, we want to avoid Arsenal. We want to avoid Man City. Anyone else, I feel like we could be, I guess, let's avoid Leicester. But we just want a championship team. So we're the first name out of the hat. Who do we want? Who do we want? Millwall or Fulham would be perfect. Brentford. Brentford is doable. Brentford, 4th in the championship, but we've got the home advantage. They're a team we could beat to end up in an FA Cup semi-final at Wembley, which would be absolutely nutso. When's that game? We don't know yet. Let's hit continue. Right, when is the game? The game is still not there because it's happening that day. So that's going to be tomorrow's video. But first, please don't crash. Please don't crash. Please don't break. I know we're not supposed to get this right. There we go. So tomorrow we'll do Brentford and Derby. For now, we need to go and play Bournemouth. Back in the league, and I'm not changing things too much after our heroics in the Cup. Obviously, we can't play quite so many lone players as we did before, and we've got the injury to Scott as well. So we've got Bruce and Ziyech coming back in the 2 wide positions. I've also got Lastra coming back in at right back because he's Lastra and he's awesome. And I have an unnatural affection for Joel Barnes as well, which I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that man's face that just makes me keep playing him. He's like my blind spot. People keep talking about Grayson and about how he should have been playing, whilst no one seems to have noticed that Barnes has played. He must be our record appearance holder by now, surely. He must be getting there. 153 for Craig Rook. Barnes can't be far away from that. He's been my first choice left back for 4 years now. And I know intellectually that he's nothing special. There's just something about him. I'll make the change and move Lastra over there eventually. Also, it's partly because this is a problem and Ansong just needs to stop being grumpy. And once he gets his head right, expect him to start many, many football games. Right, let's get into the Bourne Derby. We're against Bournemouth. I again got that recommendation in my inbox that we should be going into this game with an attacking instruction, which does just seem insane to me when where Bournemouth are a team who are up in the playoffs. But I guess there is some logic to it, because if we're going to make it up into the playoffs, Brentford, maybe not, but Bournemouth, Everton, Sheffield Wednesday, these are the teams that we're chasing. And if we're going to get there, we've got to beat them. So if we're serious about getting into the playoffs, we need to be able to beat the teams that are already in the playoffs. Bournemouth are one of them. So maybe we should be going for it, but we'll probably make the switch to that at half time. I don't want to get too overexcited and go too attacking and have them just batter us because of it. But if it looks like we're not coming close to making the breakthrough that I would hope for, then we'll switch to a more attacking instruction. They're just knocking the ball around like Durkin's not there. He's trying to do some chasing down. There's going to be a mistake coming here. It feels like there's a slip up coming from one of their players. I thought Bruce was going to intercept there, but apparently not. Surely all that faffing around wasn't the preamble to them coming up the other end and scoring. I thought it was, there you go. I knew it was going to be the they give the ball away from faffing too much highlight. Durkin with the shot and Robinson's there with the follow-up. And it's a 1-0. There's commentary. It's a 1-0 for Bourne. Bourne 1, Bournemouth 0. This is not going to get confusing for my mouth at any point. So Durkin did very well there to win the ball back. Has a decent effort across goal, and Robinson's there to just apply the finish, put us 1-0 up. And that, as it stands, puts us 8 points behind Bournemouth now, who are hovering in at the base of the playoffs. Barnes with the cross. It falls to Butler on the edge of the area. He's got time to pick his shot, but couldn't quite get it away. We seem to have lost some of our games in hand that we have. We do have a game in hand on Everton, so 8 points behind Everton with a game in hand looks better than 8 points behind Bournemouth without one. But all we can do is keep winning football matches and hope that the teams above us slip up and we can sneak in. But like I was saying at this time last year, it's not essential that we go up this year. If anything, I mean, it would be good for us financially, but from an actual team building perspective, it could be a huge problem because we've got 10 loan players in the squad and no money to go and build a Premier League quality team. We can't have all those loans in the Premier League unless we were to go into the Premier League with like a £80 million transfer budget, which seems unlikely. I would suggest we'd just come straight back down again, and we probably would anyway. So there's probably an argument for being the nearly men again this year and then seeing if we can sensibly add to this team again in the summer and maybe go up third time of asking. I've talked before about how really from the Championship to the Premier League, we want to be going up as champions, or at least automatically, so we know we were good, rather than sneaking into the playoffs at the last minute just because we hit good form, because that doesn't feel like the kind of team that stays up the following year. Right, final substitution being made. Pavlov is on the pitch now as well, which is exciting times for everybody. We still haven't switched to the attacking instruction because we're ahead in the game. So why would we? We have a corner here. It's Robinson to take. We've got men lining up on the back post. There's 3 of them in a row there at the back post. One of them's going to strike. Surely it's Pavlov. And Pavlov scored again. He can play on camera, everybody. An 8th goal of the season for Pavlov. He's now got 5 league goals from 4 league starts, plus his goals in the cup as well. Pavlov's turning into a good player under our eyes. He just needed better players around him. He's one of those players who thrives on the quality of his teammates, clearly. And Pavlov is hitting a little run of form at arguably the most important time he possibly could. Well done, gentlemen. It's another win. We're in the form of our lives. We're now facing a home game against a team in the relegation zone. And then we're straight into tomorrow's episode with the Brentford game in the FA Cup quarter-final. This season could still go spectacularly. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.